Well, this is unexpected. Apparently, there are more than a few people who want to see this silly stuff I do here, and I've managed to get to 100 subscribers. I know it's not internet fame or anything, but I did just want to let you all know how grateful I am that you've taken the time to hit the subscribe button, leave a like or a comment. So this is a sincere and heartfelt thank you. I really enjoy doing this anyway, and it's an amazing boost to know that some of you like it too. Plus, you get a gift for being awesome. I realised recently that I foolishly omitted one of my absolute favourite games from this list, and it's from an era we moved past some time ago, so let's address that by looking at it now. It's Chase H.Q. Obviously, Chase H.Q. started life in the arcade in 1988 and presented a pretty unique concept. So you know how in every other racing game it's about avoiding the cars? Well, what if we made it so that the whole point of the game was to hit other cars? One car specifically per level, over and over and over again, until the occupant undoubtedly sustains at least life-altering injuries through burning. But it's okay, he's a criminal of some kind, don't panic. What police brutality? Where? No, this is justice, served at speed. You do this by essentially completing a normal racing stage, avoiding the cars and obstacles so you can reach the target, and then once you got in range, you just had to smash into them repeatedly to drain their health and bring them in. It's a pretty simple premise, but it was incredibly satisfying, especially given what a different idea it was from most other races at the time. It had all that lovely stuff that impressed us in the arcades back then too, like a proper wheel and a gear shifter that you used to go from low to high speed. And full high quality speech that would let us hear Nancy tell us who we were after at the start of the stage. No bother, love. Leave it to us, Nancy baby.
The target vehicle is a German sports car. Over.
Leave it to us, Nancy baby.
Yeah, I just said that. And then she would come back on the radio sporadically as you were driving to tell you how shit you were doing.
Nancy, it's Chase headquarters. You keep putting around like that, time's gonna run out. Over.
She did a lot of that, actually. It felt like maybe she didn't like the protagonist very much. She was very keen to chastise you for hitting anything or going too slow, and telling you that time was going to run out if you kept messing about. And of course, inevitably, you would run out of time, because this was an arcade game, remember. The whole point was to hoover those coins out of your pocket, so you never had a realistic chance of catching any more than one bad guy on a single credit. And this was one of those cheeky ones where if you put enough coins in, you'd be able to complete it no matter how bad you were, because you always started back from where you were. Although the criminal's car damage would reset if you continued in the middle of a fight. So there was a lot of fun to be had here. The stages, at least the first few, were challenging enough to be fun without too much frustration, and the effects of the enemy car as it got more and more damaged was so cool to look at. I really, really wanted a version of this to play at home. And I got one.
Paul's gonna make our dreams come true.
Oh, it's nostalgic this, isn't it? This is great. This is how proper games load. You wouldn't want a silent loading game, would you? This is lovely. It is a bit loud, actually, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's a bit loud. It's a bit sharp. Shrill even. Nah, but this is what you want. Goes on a bit as well, doesn't it? Yeah, it takes a while. It does take a while, yeah. Retro gaming is awesome, you guys. Yes, this was my version, and look, the Spectrum was never going to be able to recreate the arcade experience entirely, not in 1989. And looking back, I can appreciate the fact that this even looks a bit like an approximation of it. Nancy's whinging has been put into text form so you don't have to hear it anymore, but it's just as constant as in the arcade. Plus the car looks similar, and like many Spectrum games, once you get used to the limitations, it is possible to have some fun here. But yeah, okay, it is kinda horrible. It's obviously not a good port. The frame rate is so low, it's going about the speed of Andrew Lincoln's text cards in Love Actually. I did have a joystick for it at the time, but you might as well use the keyboard as I'm doing here, and either way it's close to impossible to control effectively. Plus the time limit they used to part you from your 10p's in the arcade is inexplicably even more punishing here in the home version. I'm not sure who decided that would make the game more fun. This is one of those games you fire up to look at. Oh look, it's that game, I loved that game. But when you play it, you realise you loved it because you were a silly child with no standards, and it just felt like you were getting a little bit of the arcade at home, which was difficult to experience at the time. To be entirely fair to the Spectrum though, the other home ports of Chase H.Q. weren't great either. I fully expected the enhanced version on the Mega Drive, which was actually called Chase H.Q. 2, to be a far better imitation of the arcade original, but it doesn't even really try to be. The cars and environments are just stock Mega Drive racing game and it's lost all the charm. I suppose Chase H.Q., like its excellent sequels, is just something you have to experience in its original arcade form. A piece of advice I wish someone had given me at the time.
One more time. Okay. You're under arrest on suspicion of first-degree murder.
And with that, we've filled a little 1989-shaped gap in the list of my top games. I'm not going to change the name of the series to Top 122 Games now, that's just a branding nightmare, but there may well be additional games finding their way in as I think of them. For now though, I just want to say thank you again for joining me on the journey. If you like this stuff then please do tell people about the channel, hit the likes, hit the subs, and hit the shares, and let's see if we can keep growing. I'll see you next time on Promotional Whitenoise.